Intervention is a broad topic that could range from intervention in federal aspects, war, politics, charitable acts, regulation, and a wide variety of more topics. The United States has dabbled in all of these in many different countries. A lot of people view the US as a country that can't keep its nose in its own gosh darn business. Some people see the United States as a saving grace. It really just depends on which end of the spectrum you stand on. Today, I'm going to specifically talk about whether the United States should intervene in Syria. Syria is a hot topic in our world today, and this is the intervention I'm going to choose to talk about. First, I'm going to share some background info on what exactly is occurring in Syria that the U.S. should intervene in. Secondly, I'm going to talk about why the U.S. should intervene in this conflict. Syria is a bad place to be right now since early 2011, says BBC.com. The BBC website also says that over 100,000 people have been killed in clashes with the Syrian federal government and the Syrian rebellion. Why is there even a rebellion in Syria, you might be wondering? This is because of President Assad. Assad has committed many different inhumane acts against the civilians of Syria. And here are some, but this is not what all these acts are limited to. In 2011, 15 schoolchildren were arrested and tortured for writing anti-government graffiti on the walls. And then on March 18th of 2011, 4 peaceful protesters who were protesting the students' capture and torture were shot on sight. According to the Washington Post, in August of 2013, a chemical attack was used on the civilians of Syria just outside the Syrian capital, Damascus. Syria denied these charges, but when the United Nations inspectors arrived in Syria to investigate, chemical traces were everywhere. It could not be denied, but it also could not be determined who exactly was responsible for these chemical attacks. Could it have been the federal government? Could it have been the rebellion? The U.S. wasn't exactly sure at this time. Did you know that chemical weapons are illegal under international law? Surely, a weapon of this level of destruction couldn't be used by a couple of civilians, or even by the rebellious group. But even though all of this sounds so awful that there should be no reason that the U.S. doesn't intervene, there is a very large drawback, and its name is Russia. Russia has close ties with Syria and has been known to provide weapons in the past. The U.S. and Russia are already on rocky terms, so intervening in Syria could lead to a full-on war. The U.S., France, and the United Kingdom are all debating on whether or not they should intervene in Syria, and they all agree on one thing: Russia is not a country to be trifled with. And although Russia is powerful, this should not dissuade the United States from taking action. If we do not act, we are equally guilty in the inhumane acts occurring in Syria. To do nothing is to accept blame. By not acting, the U.S. is saying that it will turn its cheek to injustice if it is afraid. It is saying that if you scare us enough, we won't do anything. This is not the message we want to give off as a country, especially not to a country such as Russia, who, if we tell them that they can intimidate us, they will only continue acts and continue to help countries like Syria continue their acts. What would have happened if we would have looked the other way during World War I or II? Would we have been the same country we were today? Would the inhumane acts going on in Germany and other countries during these wars still continue? Probably. And this is a big indicator of why the U.S. should intervene in Syria. We don't want to be a country who is known for looking away from a dire situation out of fear. If we do nothing, then the same thing if we do nothing and the same thing happened to us, who would we have to help us? No one, because we didn't offer our help when we could have. Let's reiterate the fact that Assad's actions are against international law. The United Nations is made one of the United Nations' jobs is to shut down these acts when they occur. And if we do nothing, we're also saying that the United Nations has no power anyway. If the United States were to take action, maybe other countries would follow suit, and we would not be alone in the effort. Let's take a stand as a country Let's not let one man escape with injustice. The U.S. should be a country to be feared, not a country that turns from fear. By intervening in Syria, we show that as a country although doing right is not always easy, we will always be the ones to do it.